Welcome back to
Yes,
the
sir.
podcast, everybody. It's Aaron. You're here with the boys from QRF Up. So, Adam, Mark, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for coming on. We're going to, I'll turn it over to you. We were just BSing behind the scenes. Newsflash, everybody. We don't have a script. I did send them questions that we are going to talk about beforehand. We're just going to BS and go. So, buckle up. It's going to be a good one. It's a righteous cause. Mark, we'll start with you, man. Give us a little bit of background on yourself. How'd you get to all the way to QRF Up?
Yeah, man. So I retired back in September of this last year from the military. Took my little bit of time to kind of figure me out and what we were doing. And obviously I ended up started at setting up a tactical company just because we found issues within the industry that we wanted to change and swap out and just make things better. That just kept progressing and getting into where, I was able to meet Adam, who's on here with us as well. And then, just kind of kept that ball rolling for us. We ended up meeting up with QRF Up about 2 months ago at this point. And I was looking at just doing like a fundraiser for him, right? Like I had heard about it through an affiliate marketer of mine. She let me know, she's like, hey, Mark, like this is something you should really, really look at. This is, you know, you're going to dig these people. I'm like, all right, cool. So I did their intro with them, and then kind of throughout the entire intro and everything like that. And then at the end of it, they're like, hey, like, what do you think about it? And we just started talking just like we are now. You know what I mean? It's just putting the right people in the room and you start talking and you realize that like, oh no, man, I do jive with these people. I understand their vision and it integrates with my own vision of what I'm trying to do. And how do we make this work together, right? Because at the end of the day, veterans are going to be the ones that are going to change the fucking world because nobody else has balls to. And that's what we're here to do, man. So talking to that, I jumped in as I think just like the marketing director, and then I jumped to the communications and marketing director, and then kind of like the operations dude. And like now we're consistently building this up and structuring it appropriately to hit that nationwide launch coming up here in November.
That's just the most classic 11 series shit ever. Hop into a thing, you see work, you start doing work, and then suddenly you're the guy that does like 9 different jobs. And you're like, how do you do all these additional duties? Well, I just started doing it one day because we needed it. I saw a job, I did a job, and then that job was mine. Adam, what about you, man? How did you, what's your backstory? What's your villain origin story?
Yeah, man. Joined the Army in 2003, was medically retired in 2015, spent about 8 years in what I call the transition hole. Just miserable, wanted to check out from life. Got hooked up with Heroic Hearts Project, sent me to Peru to change my life with an ayahuasca journey. Started the Strategic Veteran shortly after that because, I just wanted to give purpose back to veterans who are transitioning. So that turned into the podcast. Through the podcast, one of my mentees from the Army, Chris, who's hooked up with Mark and his company, Chris called me leaving the VA one day, said, look, dude, I saw what you're doing on LinkedIn. I saw your show. I hadn't even released an episode of this yet. And he's like, I just tried to kill myself, man. And had I not seen this, I probably would have tried to do it again. So mission accomplished with the podcast before I ever released one episode. That turned into Mark like partnering with me on the podcast as like a partnership or a sponsor, not money or anything like that, but just one cool dude helping another cool dude achieve his mission. Did an episode on July 4th with Chris and Mark. That one is my best episode to date. Mind you, I've only launched in May, so I'm really, really new at this. And
let's go, baby. Let's go.
Mark,
you're an overnight success. That's going to be 10 years in the making. Congratulations. You're on the path.
I appreciate that, man. But then Mark asked me to meet with QRF Up and Ram and Cynthia. And, it furthers my mission, man, to stop the 22 a day, to give purpose back to veterans and get them to stop killing themselves, dude. I can't do notifications on my phone 4, 5, 6 times a month to dead battle buddies by their own hand.
Yeah. We literally just went through this. I was pretty close with a guy that unfortunately just killed himself like a week and a half ago. Right. And we were having this conversation, it was good. I was around my tribe and my friend and I, that he was in the Air Force for 20 years as well. So my best friend in the world is PJ as well. And the sad thing about it for us is that we looked at each other and we're like, hey man, it's really sad that Gio decided to end his own life. It really, really sucks. What sucks even more is that I've had so many of these phone calls and these conversations at this point that it was almost second nature. I just started checking in with my friends. Hey, man, did you hear? How are you doing? How are you taking it? And you just started doing it. And people were asking me like, hey, man, are you okay? I'm like, Yeah, honestly, I'm numb to it at this point, which really, really sucks to say because it is so prevalent inside of our community, especially inside of our peer group. You talk about GWAT dudes, you got in 2003, Mark, you were serving, that entire GWAT period if you just got out in September. So that period in our peer group specifically is hit especially hard, especially now. As we look at how the Afghanistan war ended, as we look at some of these other things that are giving us pause, we're like, man, like it really does feel, and transition hole is a great way to put it too. When guys stop wearing the uniform, when they stop going and seeing their buddies at work every single day, it's really tough. It's really, really tough for dudes to figure out who it is that they are, what it is that they're supposed to be doing. And it sounds like you guys just sort of found each other through a happy confluence of events and like-mindedness. Mark, when you were introduced to QRF Up, first of all, let's just talk about what is QRF Up? Like, what is the actual thing we're talking about here?
So QRF Up is an application. Okay. It is an application that is a little bit different than most, though. All right. So main issue is veteran suicide and how do we interdict that appropriately, right? And how do we do it with our community, with our tribe? You know what I'm saying? So when you can download this app, all right, and we're getting the pre-downloads prepped and set up as well now too for pre-vetting. Anybody that is a military veteran, active duty service member, National Guard, any of that we consider all military vets, right? Just to be transparent. Sorry, all my voice is still gone. But then any first responders as well as military families can get into this application as well too, because it is there to align and help with anybody that is directly involved with those PTSD symptoms, with that trauma and all those different things. You download the app, you get vetted in it, you get your subscription to it, and then you can go through and communicate back and forth with anybody within that local area. But anytime that you're in crisis, you have a red hot button that you can just go in and tap that button. Sorry, y'all. But go in and tap it, and it will put you in direct contact with either a therapist or mental health professional within your region. All right. That therapist or mental health professional has then the opportunity to talk and help de-escalate the situation. And they get to make a choice, right? They got a decision point, just like anything else in life. So they can either say, hey, I feel like I've de-escalated the situation with this, this call. I'm going to put you on a timer. All right. It can go anywhere from, 20 minutes to 8 hours. And they're like, hey, I'm going to put you on the 6-hour timer based on our algorithm and criteria of what you meet. It's this time. And you've got to call me back at this direct line by this time. And, if you do it and then we can de-escalate it, we can set you up with a follow-on appointment. We can, continue care, but our immediate action is de-escalated. If they don't call them back or the therapist doesn't feel that it is appropriate or okay at that point, they can send a mobile crisis team, all right, which is all built up of first responders that are volunteers. All right, they've gone through all of the actual training that we have for anybody who's volunteering as a first responder. I want to say it's like 20 some hours worth of
28
training and different things that they can go through for anti-suicide and interdiction and all those different things that we have already vetted and sourced, and they can go out and show up to it. All right, we are building out that responder course, which is exactly what Adam's doing right now, and he's doing a phenomenal job at it. But getting that out there and getting it set up so we can send people. All right, there is a specific option in this, right? And this is truly what drew me into QRF Up, that you can do it without calling 911 and without police involved. Because, and here's what I'll tell you, man, like when you get guys like us in our fight or flight response, and we are not able to rationalize, and we are not able to do it because we've lived outside of those societal normalcies for so long that we don't think the same, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. But when I'm in that fight or flight response and you put a bunch of police officers in front of me and they have to follow certain protocols, we get it. They have to be protected. They have to do certain things. But that doesn't jive with people like us in our flight or flight response. And I can't tell you how many brothers and, you know what I mean, that I know are in jail right now because they assaulted a police officer, and they've got, you know, assault of a peace officer on their record. They're felons now, man, because they balled a cop up and then end up getting, you know, their asses tased up and doing everything else, right? Like, I've got 2 of them in jail right now. One of them is in Walmart and was having a panic attack and, you know, lost his shit. And security guard came over and he's like, you know, he was in his flight or fight response. Cop showed up and he balled up 2, you know, Columbus police officers. Like, it sucks, man. Dude was a ranger for 16 years, bro. Like,
Yeah.
now it's over. So, but anyway, back to the exact app, right? But that is the purpose of it, is that we can get these responders out there and then they can escort them to a higher level of care and go through and do it, right? So the original application did its, you know, initial kind of, you know, routing and figuring out where everything landed up in Minnesota. They ran it for 90 to 120 days. And dude, they were able to prevent 1,120 some odd suicides, right? I mean, that number is absolutely profound, and they had over like 25 to 27,000 downloads in that time period in one state, right? Like one state. Can you imagine the nationwide implications that is going to have so many impacts and changes?
Well, yeah, but it's because I have a really good imagination. My mom always told me that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's obviously a need for it, right? 27,000 download, 1,100 interdictions. The fact that you were able to interdict 1,100 times just in that short time period, that's crazy. And obviously, when you're talking here, I'm thinking about 2 separate populations, right? My head immediately goes to those veterans, those friends that I've had that, you know, have called in crisis that need to have those talks and that really need to have, you know, this app on their phone just as a backstop to go, hey man, I am overcome by events right now. I need somebody to talk to that isn't a policeman. And I understand completely what you're saying. You know, the last thing that I want to see is an armed guy walking into my spaces when I'm having a bad day. Like, I don't care if you're a cop or not, you're still a dude that I don't know with a gun in a space where I'm not having a good time, and I don't respond very well to that. So, man, I totally get it. The other population that comes to mind here is the first responders and the other folks that you guys have working on these teams. And Adam, it sounds like you're intimately involved with the training, the selection, the setting forth of how it is that you get on these teams. Tell us a little bit about the first responders you guys have working with you.
Yeah, man. Just any first responder, really, like retired law enforcement, active law enforcement, just anybody who's wanting to volunteer. And I think it's important because, you know, as I have embarked on this journey and start learning, like, yeah, the veteran population has a big problem with the suicide epidemic, but it's even bigger, I think, in the first responder community. And there's not a lot of data on it because it's not talked about. It's overshadowed by the veteran community. So again, that's what drew me into QRF Up. You know, I started my company with wanting to stop the 22 a day. They're doing that. So it furthers my mission, lends credibility to my company as the director of recruiting. So, you know, just I can't really speak to the first responders that we have because I only have 4 region leaders right now. I don't have any more people on the response team because I just started 2 weeks ago, Mark. You know, I just started recruiting. And I'm trying to figure it out, man. Like, I shouldn't be a director of recruiting for a nonprofit. Like, that was never like something that a dumbass like me should be doing. But here I am because I believe in the cause. And so, you know, we're just trying to get solid dudes, dependable dudes who want to make a difference, who are tired of the status quo, man. That's really, you know, my mission. And I'm only one person. So, you know, we're kind of taking the chain of command approach to it, right? Region leaders, then state team leaders, then section leaders within those states, because, you know, we need to get people who can respond quickly. I think in that test, the average response time was 31 minutes or 41 minutes. And then they were only on scene for like 30 minutes to resolve the situation. And I too can relate to that, right? Like, immediately, if it's a team of brothers and sisters who served in some capacity, it just somehow just in my mind makes it better and de-escalates faster, right? So, you know, versus like what you were saying, a armed law enforcement officer with his fucking taser and his handcuffs and his gun, and he's doing his job. He or she is doing their job, but like also probably not taking a second to step back and really see what this person's going through or relate to what this person's going through. And, you said it earlier, our peer group, the GWAT guys, like we're the old guys now, like we're the people falling out of rotation, and people are starting to forget about us at this point and realize we went through 20 fucking years of war. 20 fucking years of war, right? Like, and that's all going away, and people don't realize like what we went through anymore, and the consequences of all of that. So, it's just so important to me, man. I got to stop losing buddies, dude.
Yeah. Well, hey, let's help you recruit. I'm happy to help your new position here. So let's lay it out. So if you had your, dream for a day, and every time that you guys, we're going to talk about how QRF Up is going to roll out nationwide, how we're going to start pumping it to get it everywhere and absolutely just dominate the space. Like we'll get there. But if you were king for a day and we're setting up a new area, tell us what the team looks like, because there are people out here right now that are just as passionate as you are that want to help. That's why we're on the podcast now, right? It's because I want to get this word out. I am passionate about this as well. So king for a day, Adam, you're going to put together a team that's going to respond. What does that team look like?
Man, it just, right now I've got the 4 region guys, right? Like solid dudes that I know that I can count on no matter what, that are going to, volunteer their time and really make a difference in this. That's what I want for the state team leads as well. That's what I want for any responder anywhere, is just someone that can be depended on, that's not going to get a phone call and be like, oh no, I can't go do this right now. Right. Like just kind of, what I don't want is people signing up that are half-hearted or half-assing into this. Like, you need to be committed to doing this. If that phone rings and you got a brother or sister in trouble, I want people who are willing to drop everything no matter what to go save a life. That's what I want.
So you're looking for any veteran or any first responder? Do they need to have any other qualifications? Are you looking for paramedics or social workers? Like what kind of like skills are you looking for the people?
A kind heart and a decent human being. Those are the requirements. Veteran, first responder. If you have all those other qualifications, by all means, please volunteer your time. We need mental health care providers. We need, advanced, paramedics who may be able to help, if we show up to a situation where somebody's done something stupid, right, that can interdict or that understands what's going on. But really the requirement is be a first responder or a veteran and have a kind heart and genuinely want to help.
Nice. And there's so many people out there that really do care, that really do want to be part of this. I get a ton of DMs every time we release an episode like this. Somebody will hit us up and go, hey, I'm none of these things. I just listen to the podcast and I want to help. How do I help? And this is one of those things. If people do want to volunteer, like they're going to hear this, they're going to they're going to go download the app. It's going to be great. You guys are going to go through the roof, 2 million downloads, 100,000 interdictions in a week. That's what's going to happen. That's how popular this podcast is. Just want to give a quick shout out to Joe Rogan. He listens. So no big deal. 100 million downloads a week. How do they get a hold of you? How do they get a hold of QRF Up to volunteer?
Yeah, man, too easy. Email me, adam@qrfup.onmicrosoft.com, or go to qrfup.org. Scroll down the page on the right-hand side. It'll say become a responder or a mental health care provider. Fill out the form, and I'll take you from there. If I don't, it'll be one of my region managers or one of the state team leads.
Heck yeah, QRFUp.org. Go check it out. Or email him. Adam is nice enough to give you his own email. I would not have done that with our savage listeners. You were going to get some pictures that you probably do not like.
I'll double down on it, man. My phone number is 912-656-1917. Call me.
Hell yeah. I love that. Let's talk about rollout. Adam or Mark, we are getting to the point where this thing is going to blow up huge. Obviously, that's the reason why we're on here. We want to get eyes on. We want to get people downloading the app. What's next? What do you need us to do in the short term 5-meter target to get QRF Up out in front of the people it needs to get in front of?
So 5-meter target is really kind of falling on us actually right now. So I've got our website designer going through and working with him pretty directly. Just one, kind of fixing up some of our SEO to make this obviously a little bit more findable. That was obviously a friction point that I noticed that we needed to pump up. And then on there, we are going to have a, pre-vetting, checklist and different things, right? So unfortunately, we can't offer this to everybody, right? It's not possible. We have to do that niche market, but for twofold, right? Because one, we're going to serve, our direct communities, for veterans and first responders and their families. But then two, you know what I mean? If you go too big, it loses its value. and that's just then you're just like everybody else. So we do have to do vetting. We are currently set up through ID.me and a couple other different vetting sources. We are getting that linked through our site now. So anybody who's looking at getting this app, we should have this up by next week and getting it in there. Get in there and do your pre-vetting, all right? Because I guess my biggest fear with going nationwide is even with AI going through vetting, even with additional resources and additional companies volunteering and all these other things, if we hit, you know what I mean, if we did 25,000 downloads just out of one state, I mean, dude, we're gonna hit 2 to 5 million within a week or so of downloads on the app when it goes nationwide. And I don't want our system overloaded to where it's taking too long to get people vetted and in. So the goal would be is if we're looking at doing this, we launch in November, we've got some time to get it pre-flushed out. So that way when it goes live, it's already ready to go for people. So get them on there, start filling that paperwork out. We'll get it up there next week, and just get that cranking, right? And then anybody that is looking to volunteer and get into that, whether it is an actual mental health provider, we can get you touched in with Steven Spake. He's another person I brought into QRF Up. Man is an absolute pipe hitter. And he is running all of our, and he always yells at me to be very careful about the verbiage that we use, but he's the medical operations director. Because as soon as you say medical director, he's like, I'm not a doctor. I've only got 4 undergraduates and 2 master's degrees.
Oh,
Dude,
man, yeah.
I love Steven to death, man. Like he's definitely my boy, but he's a bookworm, man, and he's so overly educated, and he's fantastic. He's a great human, and his wife's a doctor. So
right, that's probably why he's so sensitive to it. He runs away from those bona fides because he gets it at home. She was up in his chili, being like, "They're not calling you the medical director, are they? Because you're not even a doctor."
Yeah. Oh yeah, all the time. And she's spicy like that too. So you
Good.
know what I mean? Like it's gonna happen.
When you said he was a good guy, he's a hard charger, an absolute pipe hitter, I was like, I guarantee he's married to an awesome, strong woman that tells him he's an idiot, because we all have them. Those are all great. Yeah. You got to get yourself one. I highly recommend it.
Yep.
So mental health isn't the only focus, though. QRF Up is a holistic approach to all this, which is why you guys are being so deliberate and you're doing it right. The other services that you guys provide, man, physical wellness, financial aid, continued education, these are all things that roll into it. It's not enough just to have a team that shows up at somebody's house and says, hey, man, you got to stop. You got to break the chain. You got to stop the cycle of getting into those dark times. And that continuing education, physical education, and physical wellness is obviously a huge part of it. Classic stuff, right? Guy gets out of the military, gets fat, starts to grow a beard, doesn't go to the gym, and then he's shocked that he's feeling bad, right?
Are you talking about me right now? Because that's my exact story, brother.
Man, I'm over here thick as a Southern biscuit.
Hey, not me, dude. I have all of these. Freaking berets to make sure that I don't look like a piece of shit, because I'll get called out by my own community. They're like, "Oh, look at Aaron, he's fucking fat." But we all do it, man. We lose focus. You get out of that routine. It's easy to sleep in. It's easy to not go to the gym. The easiest thing in the world for me. I'm a jiu-jitsu athlete, right? Easiest thing for me to do in the world is to miss class. It's so easy to. You don't even. You could just stay home and start drinking early, and then people wonder why it is that they don't feel good, or why it is that they get into these spirals. So especially from the continuing education piece, Adam, what are you guys focusing on to build out a holistic approach to this? Not just intervention, not just having the teams of people that show up in regions, not just having an app where they can hit a button and finally get some attention. What are some of these other things that you guys are rolling in that you're excited about, that you think people just don't think about enough?
That's a good question. I'm so new to QRF Up. I'm going to have to default on Mark on this one.
I'll give it to Mark, man.
I apologize, man. Like, as a director of recruiting, like, I'm focused on, I need ideally 10,000 people to volunteer. So that's like my sole focus. And I'm getting a lot of pushback through, posting on Facebook groups, which I fucking hate anyway.
Facebook. And are you looking for 80-year-olds? Is that why you're over on Facebook?
Dude, I'm just trying to leverage every social media platform with the business knowledge that I have. Right. I have zero recruiting experience, by the way. Like I said, I wasn't bullshitting when I said I shouldn't be in this position.
You're just juggling flaming chainsaws every single day. Like, what am I doing here? What am I doing?
Yeah, man. Figuring it out, dude, right? Like figuring it out. But I do have to default on Mark. I mean, I know there's a lot of things that I could speak on that I would like to see us do, because it's things that help me, right? Like, learning mindfulness, learning meditation, learning that yoga and breath work really help you. And, I asked you if you were speaking about me because I'm the guy that got fat, grew a beard, right? Like I've
Right.
lost 100 pounds in the last year. So
I knew you look good for a reason. I couldn't
Yeah.
put my finger on it. You sound silky smooth. I knew something about you. It just made me think this guy's doing something big.
But yeah, I would like to see all of that in QRF Up. I'd like to share all of that because it all matters, man, and it all makes a difference. But anyway, I default to Mark on what our other programs are because
Yeah.
I'm still way too new to be an authority on that.
I'm going to keep hammering. I'm going to ask you really in-depth, in the weeds questions just so you can defer over to Mark. So that we have to talk about Mark like he's not in the room and then wait for his answer, because that's how
it's his fault for inviting me onto this thing at like 9 o'clock last night.
Well,
you know?
I will say too, like this makes for great podcasts. So I know you're on your first couple of podcasts, but boy, the listeners really love it. They'll tell you in the comments. Mark, what about the other rolling in these other modalities of wellness? Like how are you guys fleshing that out?
So, and honestly, it's coming in a partnership is truly what we're doing it with. You know what I mean? So we have built up, gosh, I think we're at like 151 partners right now. Like at the end of the day, every partner that we've talking to, like we have yet to get a no from somebody once we explain what we're doing and how we're actually trying to put out a holistic project and doing it. We haven't gotten a no yet, but we're also being very, very strategic in particular about the partners in which we're taking on. You know what I mean? Like I'll just be honest, right? Like there's other 501(c)s and other groups out there that could support us dramatically. But, you know, Ram and I would sit down there and talk about it. And we're like, what do you think, dude? And he's like, no. And I'm like, or vice versa. And I'm just like, no, dude, that dude's a scrub. You know what I mean? Like if you're a coffee company and you're pulling things, you know, from specific areas in the world, like, I mean, I think we all kind of know what that means there, Bubba. So like, nah, dude, we're not going to do it, or you know, and vice versa, right? So it's one of those things that we're just looking at getting and tapping resources that other people are not, and we are not looking to overgrow. I know one of the biggest things that we were just talking about, and the original concept and plan for this was to get it built up to this point, run through, get it verified, and then have the VA start funding it, right? And it was looking at like I guess like $9.1 million for funding it for like 10 years, and that was that. But as we're going through and I'm having more of these conversations, like I just had all these crazy conversations, man, because at the end of the day, like God's got a plan for us, and he's putting me into some very, very weird rooms and very weird circles lately, um, that are kind of a catch-22. But you know what I mean? Like we're going through it and we're setting up and kind of figuring out what partners can truly be leveraged when it comes to fundraising, and then what partners and things can we leverage for aftercare and other things as well too, right? So I think if we look at it from how do we prevent the issues from happening, how do we action it in that immediate, you know, response, and then what do we have for aftercare for continuing to just make people better, right? And I think if you're not looking at that holistic phase and aligning your partners appropriately to that, you're not going to get it there, right? So, and then this kind of goes into another one. Like I just fired off my own nonprofit based out of Florida as well too. That's the Trauma Recovery Alliance, and that's going to be an aftercare program, right? So, you know, like we're getting in there and we're doing those different things, and obviously once November hits and we're fully launched, is when I'm going to make that transition a little bit over and push some more focus to getting centers built up and doing different stuff like that. And my company is kind of the one that's dual heading that and vertically integrating it. So it's all about just finding the right people, man, putting them in the right room, and being like, okay, you're really good at this, we're really good at this, right? Like I suck at being a connector. Adam right there is my connector, dude. Like Adam makes connections and like nobody's business, right? You want to do data analytics, I'm your dude, right? Like you want to do full breakdowns and you know get it out there and be able to sit down and talk with C-suite execs and get into those rooms and you know brush on political agendas and then be a dickhead to a CEO. That's my job. That's just the way I am, man. I have no issue with doing it.
How's that working out for you?
It works out great.
It works out great.
You know
Good. Yeah, good.
like, yeah, no,
I'm excited to hear how that continues to work out.
Yeah, look, man, like at the end of the day, if you're raw and you're real with people, and you tell them the truth and you have the data behind it, right? Like I was just talking with one, and I won't name drop the company or anything like that, but I'm like, how many suicides have you had in your organization from veterans in the last year? And they didn't know. I'm like, oh, cool, it's 37 throughout your organization. Nationwide company, good valuation. They're in Fortune 500. And I was standing in his office. And I'm like, this is what you've had. What programs do you have available for it? Oh, well, that's an HR problem. Is it an HR problem or is it your people problem? As a leader of a company, to which I can stand for as well too, because I'm also a C-suite executive and I'm a leader of a company that I've put together, right? And built out and done this, who understands how to work in an actual manufacturing process and get all these different things done. And I understand your protocols and your problem sets. What are you doing to fix the problems? What policies are you putting in place? Or do you care, or are you just here for a stock option? And a lot of people don't like being told no, or that they are a piece of shit. And that's okay. And it's not because they truly are, but it's because they're uneducated in the actual ways of the world. Because systematic education doesn't boil down to what it truly is, right? We're not actually teaching real world problems anymore. We're going into analytics that are on the spectrum and don't matter. So why don't we actually challenge things and get up in front of people's faces and be like, hey man, what is the real problem? Let's find out root causes, and then let's set a policy and a system to fix it.
Sure.
So, and if you can be real and raw with these people, as well as to include all of our partners, and understanding that and being like, hey, like, how are we fixing this? I had a problem with recruiting and we were struggling with it. I hit up Adam and I said, Adam, I need help with this. And he's like, brother, I don't have the experience to do it. I'm like, I understand that. We can teach you a job. We cannot teach you to be the person you are. Right? And that's the difference. So, you know what I mean? Like, you can't teach somebody their values. You can't teach somebody their morals or their drive or any of those other aspects. So when you plug and play those people into those positions, it's based on that, about who they truly are, and not about based on their social or financial status.
Seems to make sense to me, man. So in the education piece, right? You said
Yep.
we have a big hole in education. We want to have, what kind of education are you going to push down to the folks that are actually using the app, that are connecting on socials? And we're going to, Adam, I'm going to talk about how we build this community in between now and November. So get ready, buddy. I think you can ask that. You can answer that one. I'm going to tee it up for you next. But Mark, from that education for the veterans, what's the most important piece of education, or the most important module that you would put out in front of veterans to make sure that they understand exactly what QRF Up is, what you do, and what it's meant to provide, which is an interruption to that cycle?
Yep. So, and I think you tagged it right on the head, is the interruption aspect of it, right? And that when you get out, you know what I mean? And the biggest thing that I specifically tell every veteran is that you need to do your homework, brother or sister, right? Like, you need to do your homework, because there are so many programs out there that are overbearing. Okay. And it's totally overwhelming of how many programs are out in the market and all those different things and what they can do and what they can't do. And I mean, like, Jesus, dude, like I can't even keep up with it.
Right.
And I work in it, you know what I mean? So like, it's a whole thing, but you need to do your homework, figure out, you know, where you are and what your problem sets are, and then just reach out to the community. Right. So, and if QRF Up does anything, even outside of the interdiction aspect, but just to the community of like, we are a touch point that can push you into the right direction when you have problems, right? And I take that as, you know, the senior non-commissioned officer, right? Like, what do? We run our programs. We know the ins and outs of these programs. We know where to go get help. I might not know exactly how to help you specific, but I know what we can dig into and find to get a program set up and get you to the right places. So, and it's really down to that connector base, and how do we do that? And how do we tap those systems to get actual things done?
Well, and the easiest way, man, is you build a grassroots program that you can connect other veterans.
Yep.
And that's one of the greatest parts about the app that's coming out in November.
Yep.
But even before then, you guys can go over to QRF Up QRF.org right now. If you just scroll down, you can go to the Connect Socially button. Adam, how important is it in between now and November to build that good, strong base of folks that are connected inside areas? How, and I know that you're living in Facebook jail world right now. That place is freaking dumpster fire. I hate Facebook so bad. But it's necessary, and it's how we get people connected. And that tribe, that belonging, is one of those ways that we can interrupt that cycle, right? So how in between now and November, how much would you like to see that community grow?
I'd like to see it grow as much as it possibly can, man. Like, the internet is such a beautiful place because it gives us the ability to connect with veterans everywhere, veterans and first responders everywhere, more than I could ever reach out to from my house here in Florida with a telephone, right? Like, it's incredibly important. And, to add to that, it's like, you as a veteran should want to help. You should want to be a part of this, because you should feel sick at your stomach like I do every time I lose another mentor or a friend or some of the best men and women I ever served with on this planet, right? And when I get pushback or people want to just default to 988. It's like 988 has failed us. 988 has failed us, and you don't know what you're talking about anymore, and you immediately dismiss everything I'm trying to do. I made a post in the group, and they denied my post for self-promotion, like I was selling something. And I'm like, this is
the audacity.
It's just interesting to me. Like, you should be ashamed of yourself if you don't want to help this cause. Like, how can you sit here and call yourself, a veteran who cares about other veterans if you won't even entertain this or put it out for other people? So it's incredibly important to grow, and I'd like to see it, 10x over,
right,
the next 2 months, man, because I'm not joking when I say we need, at minimum, we need 100 responders per state. That's 5,000 responders for the United States. Oh, by the way, cover Puerto.
Yeah, that math checks. Okay. Sorry, I just
I know I'm a dumb grunt, man, but like that one was simple math.
That's just zeros. That's all you got to do. You just had a couple of them on there.
You're good. But that also includes Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic, if I'm not mistaken, right? Like, so not just all 50 states, but we're taking care of guys in DR and Puerto Rico, and the Philippines, I believe, is the third one, right? Yeah, so all of our territories
is on deck as well too, and then plus you've got Hawaii and Alaska as well too, and that's even with the bases being in Alaska, because it's so, spread out and austere, like it's difficult to build up that response program.
And oh, by the way, we also have bases in Europe. We have bases in Africa. We have expats living abroad who need this resource as well. So like, that's why it's so important. And that's what we need to 10, 20, 50x, our reach, because I'm one person, man. I can't do it all by myself. I need the help of the community. And could you imagine trying to manage 5,000 people by yourself? Like, no way, dude. No way. I would pull my hair out.
Well, first of all, don't you touch that gorgeous head of hair.
It's not going anywhere, brother.
You're doing great. That thing, man, look, it's just flowy. It's got a little gunmetal gray in it. I'm here for it. Well, so where is the community popping off, man? Like, do you guys have a Discord? Is it just through the Instagram? Like, the Connect Socially button over at QRF.org or QRFUp.org is a great place to start. But where is it that you're interacting the most, and where do you want to point people? Like, if we're going to 10x a platform, where are they going?
That's a good question, man. Instagram is the biggest one right now. I think there's 50K followers on the Instagram platform, but you raise a good point. I think we probably should set up some kind of communication system, via whether that looks like school or a Slack channel or a Signal chat or something like that.
Telegram, a Signal, a Discord. I'll tell you what, we have a Discord, right? It's not our Discord. We didn't make it. We just engage on it a lot. We were there in its infancy. They were like, hey, we're going to start an AppSpec War Discord. I was like, first of all, I'm old. I don't know what a Discord is, but sure, it's another group chat that's going to give me an alert on my phone. Perfect. Sign me up. But I'll tell you what, it's like 1,500, 2,000 people strong. And that community is awesome. Like, you guys should look at Discord, or maybe come on over and we can throw a channel in there for you guys to start to start getting eyes on. That's an easy one, because that's a great way. And the community, it's amazing, the self-policing that happens just in all of these places. It's something that you really do miss as a veteran. You're regular people, and I don't say that to bemoan people that haven't served in the military. They just don't understand what it's like to walk in a team room and get absolutely roasted in front of all of your friends because you have something on your shirt, or because you look fat in your uniform that day, or because you did something, you walk in and drop something and somebody's like, oh, just go ahead and drop with it, idiot, knock out some push-ups while you're down there. They don't understand that that's a benefit. They don't understand that that's a good, when one of your bros, when one of your sisters looks at you and goes, hey, fuck face, I can't help but notice you were supposed to be at the gym yesterday and you weren't. What's your excuse? Man, that shame, that wanting to conform inside of that little culture, man, that's a good thing. That's
that buddy check, man.
You should be breeding those sort of things. And when you look at it from the outside in, you're like, that guy hates you. Be like, hates me? That guy loves me. That guy's the only guy on the face of the planet that would walk up to me and grab me by the shirt and go, hey, bud, you're fucked up. Can you fix yourself? Because I love you, but I will beat the shit out of you. And people don't understand that part of what the community really is.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, it feels good to be the guy shaming somebody as well. So, man, we've talked about QRFUp.org. I screw this up every time. So QRFUp.org. We can also go all the way down to donate. So obviously there's a need for a donation. You guys are a 501c3 company. Is that true or not true?
Yes.
Awesome. So 501c3 company, need of donations. The donations right now are setting up the what are the donations going to right now? Is it for app development? Is it to get it out there? Is it to pay Adam to be the best recruiter of all time? I hope it is.
No, so nobody right now is taking a paycheck hit at all. Everybody we're working with right now is completely volunteer based, and we're looking at it from obviously like business leaders coming in, and you know what I mean. Like we can clearly do tax write-offs for stuff that we're donating and getting done, but all the donations right now are going into application development and actually getting it out there, getting out to some of these other events and spreading the word for marketing and all the other stuff. So that is truly where it's coming from. And then the next kind of phase that we're looking at doing to start pumping money into is, okay, like how do we ensure people going out and doing some of these different things? How do we, prep for those legal issues that are going to arise because of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
There will always be something that's going to come up because, that's the world we live in now, and, good for us. But the and then as well too, like, okay, like how do we get vehicles? What about potentially partnering with, I don't know, rideshare or Uber or doing any of this other stuff? Like, how do we get people certain places? And it's all about building that connection, right? Because at the end of the day, like we have to build a corporation to support this on top of it just being strictly a 501c, because we need corporate structure and to do that. And that's kind of the role that I'm really jumping into at this point, is how do we structure this appropriately and put the right leaders to fill those gaps and get it. So the donations are there to support it, and continue just building out on the mission. Eventually, yes, we will have to, start paying different entities and start doing those different things. They are working for free right now. Our PR, team, our media team, and a couple other folks are doing it for free for us. You know what I mean? Because they understand the importance. But eventually, they're going to start asking for a check, man. And that's it's the way of life, brother. Like we can only
welcome
do so
to the
much
world.
for free.
Yeah.
You
Welcome to the
like,
world, everybody. Like this time, you should be compensated for your time, no matter how righteous the pursuit. The thing that I do love, though, is that, and I wanted to give you kudos for it earlier. We just started talking about other stuff, but you initially looked like, oh, let's get the VA to do it. And then you all, it seems like simultaneously came to the conclusion that the big government has never done anything efficiently or well. So you just started boxing them out. Kudos. Great job. You should be. I hope this generates $75 million and you can pay everybody that you need to pay to make this thing, because that's how you actually move this ball forward. So I just wanted to give you kudos.
No, 100%, bro. Let me talk a little bit more on that too, right?
Here we go. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we all have our own, pressure points with the VA and different things, and what that all looks like, right? So, but if we allow them to continue doing the same thing over and over and over again, right, and no real change is actually being made, like it's the same bullshit, man. So, and Ram and I were actually literally on the phone last night, and like he was whispering me some sweet nothings and different stuff after.
Kiss the homies good night, dude. That's the rule. Ain't nothing changed.
I'm fucking jealous. You're supposed to be whispering sweet nothings to me.
I'll call you tonight. Don't worry about it. I got you, big girl.
Hey, I'm gonna when we edit this, I'm gonna put me in the middle of you two, just so that I can I'm gonna move the frames up so it's a little bit different when the video podcast drops.
So, but yeah, man, it's the goal originally was to have the VA backing and funding, and it was like, and again, it was around like, I want to say it was like 9.1, 9.2 million. from when they looked at it. And I started actually doing some, again, right, data analysis and figuring those different things out. If we want to do this and do it the right way and completely circumvent it and outperform and actually make a difference, we need around 30 million, man. Like to get it off and running and to do it the right way. Is the estimate that I put together. And obviously I've got some wiggle room left and right on that, you know what I mean? But and that's a big number, but it's not an outlandish number. It's not, right? And a lot of people hear that, and because they look at things not from a strategic point of view or a large scale point of view, and it's like, hey, like that's one good contract for a normal corporation, right?
It's a rounding error to a sports team.
Yeah.
Like what are we talking about? Like a single NFL weekend.
Yeah.
Like that's a rounding error. You think
Yep.
like, what are we talking about? It's not that much money at all. It's a signing bonus for some 19-year-old out of Tulane University.
Exactly.
It really ain't that much, man.
And we could sit there and actually make a legitimate difference with that budget. You know what I mean? And obviously if we could keep growing and doing those different things, like that'd be great. But $30 million, we would be able to circumvent and do this completely without government funding or grants. And then there's no red tape that's along with it, right? Because that's the biggest point and the biggest issue that everybody needs to understand and truly get, right? Like, how many government contracts have y'all been writing? Because I've been writing them for a long time, and it's miserable, dude. Like it's miserable. I worked in FMS sales before I got out of the Army. And guess what? Now I own a tactical company, and I work in fucking FMS sales again, dude. It's terrible.
You just
I don't
can't
know
get
what
away
I was
from it.
thinking, boys. But anyway, like there are so many red tape and strings that you have to break through, and at this point within our governmental system, especially within the VA system, man, like they have built so many redundancies and checks and balance systems there that the system no longer works because, oh, did you talk to this director? Well, that director's in a completely different zone and they don't even talk. But if I don't get both their approval, I can't get this done. Like, well, you know what I mean? Like you got Tom over here, you got Jerry over here, and then you got Dick in the middle. You know what I mean? Like, who are all these people?
Right.
They've never even met before, but yet they're in charge of this, and I have to have all three signatures to get this done. And then I got to go hunt these dudes down to find something. And then they don't like each other for some reason.
And that's your problem.
Yeah, it is a you problem.
And then
Yeah.
Right? Because then we got to figure it out of how to circumvent and navigate those issues, right? And that's what we do, right? Like at the end of the day, like we brought just nothing but pipe hitters to this team to figure out how to circumvent these dudes and get the job done. Because I could care less on how we get there. We are outcome based. All right, we're gonna do it the right way. You know what I mean? Like we ain't gonna cross any dramatic lines. We ain't gonna do anything like that, right? Like obviously nothing illegal, unethical, or immoral. However, right? Like I don't know if y'all figured it out yet, but my company's called Gray Group. You know what I mean? Like we work in the middle, boys.
The world is a gray area, my friend.
Dude, like
I'm here for it.
You're gonna go through that middle, and you got to figure out what that space works like to actually get shit done.
Back in the day when you were a young PJ, you would learn the ARC, the rescue craft. It's a 1200cc jet ski. Okay, that's what it is. Like it's really fun to drive around. We say it's for like open ocean rescues. It's not. It's so we can take our shirts off and put the vibe out.
No, yeah, totally makes sense.
Combat casual. But when that's the uniform for riding jet skis is combat casual. But when you would drive that thing, like you really have to like pin it. Like some things in order to get through rough seas, you have to drive it hard. And I had a friend describe it to me as like, hey, have you fallen off the ARC yet? Has that thing thrown you off yet? And I was like, no. And he's like, well, you're being a pussy. You're not driving it hard enough.
Yeah.
A lot of these projects are exactly like that. I want you riding the line because this is such a righteous project. I want you riding the line of like, hey, I might go to jail over this, but I think I'm clear here. Let's go. Let's press.
Yep.
Like there is that scary gray area that you're just going to have to deal with. Like Adam, congrats, man. You have no idea how to be a recruiter or a podcaster. Well, you just keep doing it. That's it. That's what you fucking
just get the reps, man.
That's it, man. You talk on a microphone. No, it's not that hard to do, but I'll tell you what, it's hard to be good at it. It's hard to talk on a microphone and have a good conversation with somebody. It's hard to get this app out in front of people. It's hard to communicate the value that you guys have, which you've both done an amazing job because you're good looking, square jawed, steely eyed killers, which I've always liked about you since I met you 47 minutes ago. Adam, I'm going to kind of turn it over to you, man. QRFUp.org is the home for everything. Go check them out on Instagram. I just want to ask you, man, I know that you care about this. I know that you jumped in, 2 feet for a job that you had no idea how to do. And I know it's important to you. I just want to give you some time, man, to tell the folks about QRF Up, about what you think it's going to be and how important it really is.
I mean, I think it's going to revolutionize how veterans and first responders get help, man. I think that, anybody who's spent 5 minutes in this country with the mental health care system knows that it's extremely broken. I can tell you, I have some personal experiences with that, and one of my family members trying to get help for them. And, even like TRICARE won't even pay for any kind of inpatient stay for anybody over the age of 21. Right. Like, that's a fucking problem.
Come on, man. Right.
So I think, the reason I came on board is because QRF Up is taking that holistic approach to interdicting, breaking the cycle, to then, making sure you're taken care of with someone coming in that's you're familiar with, to de-escalate, and then the aftercare part of it. They're not just going to throw you to the side and watch you do the minimum amount of work to make you feel a little bit better, but then it's not going to stick, right? So I think it's going to change the face of the mental health care world. I think it's going to be a catalyst for revamping the entire country's system. That's what I really think. I mean, it to the point where Mark has started his own initiative where he's going to posts, standing in front of the post commander saying, we want you to make our application post policy. I called the Space Force space the other day and got pushback on that too. Well, we're already kind of instituting a policy like this. And I was like, no, I need to talk to the 2-star, because you're not instituting anything like this, because nothing like this exists. You know what I mean? And I'm thrilled at the prospect of going and standing on the carpet in front of a 2-star with a beard and long hair and being like, ma'am, you need to do this.
Yeah.
And come and correct, like Mark said, with the actual numbers, and really making them face that reality that, your post has had 100 fucking suicides in the last year. What are you actually doing about it? Well, we got 211 and 988 posted up everywhere.
Come
and it's
on,
like, is that actually fucking working?
Oh,
have you ever called 988?
You're
How long did you get put on hold?
Yeah, you're posting a 4-slider on some bullshit board, some safety board inside of a break room somewhere. I think that's the thing that you guys are doing great too. So kudos to you, is that you're not letting people gaslight you because you know better. You're not going to sit here and tell me about the VA health system. I use the VA health system. I know how bad it is. I know exactly where the holes are. I think that's great. It's a great way to come for it.
Yeah, man, I've been out for 8 years, got out at Fort Lewis, Washington, went to the American Lake VA. I have sleep apnea, and it's not weight related, come to find out. Yay for me.
Good for you, buddy.
I'm still waiting on an appointment at that sleep clinic. It's been 8 fucking years.
Fantastic.
Tell me that the VA is not broken.
You don't want to go hang out in Lakewood? You don't want to go hang out in Puyallup and grab some lunch in Tacoma and Grit City? Are you sure? I used to live right there, dog. I retired out of JBLM as well, so no big deal. I was a Washington.
You're right, man. Like I just really, like, even as early on as it is with QRF Up, I think it's going to revolutionize everything, and I really do believe it could be a catalyst for change for our entire mental health care system in America.
I agree. Couldn't have said it better myself. Mark, I'm going to turn it over to you to close this up, man. QRFUp.org. That's the website. Go over to Instagram, look up QRF Up. You guys, you'll find it everywhere. We'll put it out on all of our socials. We tag you and stuff all the time. Like, we see you guys tag us and stuff. It's great. So go find them, build that community. Mark, I'm going to hand it over to you for the last words, man. Tell us about QRF Up and what it is that you mean to get after. What's the goal?
The goal is to just make a difference, man. Honestly, and before I even jumped into QRF Up, right, like I talked to them about the strategy and the ideology behind my company. And our 2 phrases are, challenge the industry and be better. And it just systematically aligns with what QRF Up wants to do. All right. Because where we stand, not only as just a country, but as, an industry, a community, and all these different things, like, we need to be better. All right. Because we're not, and we're failing. And it's proof, because, like, me personally, and as I went through my 6 months of, intense therapy and all these different things that I went through, I had to write the list, man. I had to write it out. And 39 of my close friends have killed themselves. Right. And that's a number, brother. And you talked about it earlier, that you're just like, I'm numb to it at this point. And, a month or 2 ago, I ran through the same issue you were just in a week ago, right? And I'm like, oh, don't worry, there'll be 2 more. And no shit, there they were, right? And because it always comes in threes, that's how it works. And we recognize the patterns, we see it. So we need to look at things differently. We need to challenge what's being told to us and how things are just currently ran, whether it's administration issues and anything, right? We don't need to go down a political rabbit hole. Both sides are fucked anyway. It doesn't matter. So, you know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, we need to look at what the actual industry standards are, and we need to challenge them to be better. And that is exactly what QRF Up is doing. And we're open to not only, you know, just what we're doing currently, but if you have other ideas and other entities that align with this and can help us be better, and we can help you and mutually support one another, dude, that's what this is about. Because the only people that are going to actually make America what it fucking should be again is our veteran community. And I hate to break to y'all, but we are strong. We are here. We look at things completely differently because of our traumas through G1, because of those different things, right? And we can call it trauma, we can call it PTSD, we can go, it don't fucking matter, dude. We look at shit differently because we've lived outside of the societal normalcy of what America is now, right? And we have a different understanding and viewpoint on it. So let's, and I hate to say this, but let's weaponize that shit and let's use it to change the outcomes and to make shit better and to make our country great and to rebuild that. We need that generational boom like we had after World War II again, because we are stagnant and it's ridiculous. So we need that, and it's going to come from our veteran base, and we need to protect our vets, and we need to do it here. And I think the flagship standing point of that is the war against suicide and in fighting those battles within our own community and rebuilding people up so that way they're not sitting there having to wear that mask every day and hiding that thought process anymore. Because it is powerful when you can actually harness it and use it. And I think that is the embodiment of what QRF Up is and how we're going to change the fucking world, man.
Can I add to that? Dude, there's 20 million veterans. 20 million of us.
Yep.
Like, that's not an insignificant amount when you're talking about a population of just over 300 million. And if we can get the suicide piece figured out, that will free up 20 million veterans or more to go and make this economy great, build businesses, be productive members of society, contribute in ways that I think civilians can't because they haven't served something greater than themselves. So I would encourage everyone. Aaron, can I count on you to join the response team?
Yeah, I'm already in.
See,
it's
done.
Easy. Yeah, it's easiest thing I've ever done.
Recruiting job done,
yeah,
right?
Vegas,
but that's my point, right? Like, there's 20 million of us. I just need 10% of you. You know what I mean? To be responders. And we can change everything for every single one of them and give you more opportunity within the economy and society to do great things. And like Mark said, make this country great again.
Yeah. Amen. We can talk about that all day, and you can go follow some of my other pages if you want to talk about how I feel about the country. My views are pretty far out there, but another time, another place, another platform. Adam, Mark, I want to say thanks, man. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for everything that you're doing. Adam, you get me whatever you need to onboard. I'm 100% serious. I'd love to be on the response team. You tell me what I need to do. I'll go do it right after we get off here. Everybody else, go over to onesready.com. Make sure to check out QRFUp.org. That's the home for everything. Make sure to follow the Instagram over at QRFUp. You can find them from our page, from the tags, or you can just search for it because you're a good person that can figure it out on your own. Everybody else, thanks for coming out. We appreciate it. We'll see you next time on the Ones Ready podcast. Adam, Mark, thanks.
Thank you, man.
Thanks, guys.